Are you tired of your scouts being shut down by walls? Feeling nauseous at the thought of your drush doing absolutely nothing? Worried about men with pointy sticks showing up to the party uninvited? If any of these symptoms sound familiar, then endure no longer, cause I've got a cure that'll make you stronger. Keep watching so you can go from fool to fatal while your opponents go from cruel to cradle. Alright, if you've made it this far, then I take it that you have a problem with finding ways to damage your opponent in the early game. The build in which I'm presenting hits 1 or 2 villagers faster than the standard unoptimized versions. This means that you can have your men-at-arms attacking 25 or 50 seconds faster than usual. This also means that to be fully walled, your opponent may have to give up any initiative in early feudal age. Not only will you be doing damage to your opponent's economy directly and indirectly, you'll also be scouting exactly what he's doing, which will let you react accordingly. The goal with this strategy is to invest as many resources as is reasonable to damage the opponent in feudal age, and then follow up with an early castle age crossbowman attack while expanding your economy. There are a few reasons that I've selected Ethiopians to demonstrate this strategy. First, they get 100 food and 100 gold for free on reaching the next age. This allows you to get men-at-arms upgrade basically for free and lets you go to gold after you start the archery range, as you can always afford the first archer. Their next bonus is faster firing archers. This bonus applies even in feudal age, so your archers are more effective at taking down units and can help your men-at-arms take down buildings even faster. The final bonus is the free pikeman upgrade. This helps to deal with an opponent opening knights or siege in castle age. Any spears that you make in feudal age will instantly become more useful upon reaching castle age. Those are the 3 bonuses that I've given the most consideration for Ethiopians. An honorable mention is that they get access to the Shotel warrior, which eats eagle warriors for breakfast. Apparently they taste like chicken, but honestly those things scare me. With that out of the way, let's move on to the build. The first 6 villagers go to sheep after building 2 houses. This is going to be pretty standard for most builds that you follow, though an argument can be made for building the second house near your lumber camp to help with walling later. Once you have 6 on sheep, go up to 3 on wood. This will give you the perfect amount of wood to afford the barracks in time to have the 3 militia arrive at your opponent's base as soon as the men-at-arms upgrade completes. The next step is to get up to 12 on boar. If you send villager number 10 to lure the first boar, then it should come in just as the 4th sheep is finishing. If you had a mix of cows and sheep, make sure to take 2 cows and 1 sheep to hit the same timing. I'll be doing another quick tip video that gets into luring timing, which will help here. When luring the second boar, send your villager from the TC when the first boar has roughly 180 food in it. This will help to consistently bring it in just as the first boar fully depletes. The goal is to get to 12 on board, but sometimes your villagers just won't fit. In this case, you can send those idle villagers to berries early. After you have 12 on board, you want to get up to 4 on berries, so sending them early really doesn't affect much. Once the second boar is finished, you'll want to get up to 7 on wood. This means sending 4 villagers to wood and keeping 8 villagers on sheep. Once you can afford the barracks, use one of the shepherds to build it. This can usually be afforded around the time you're researching loom, which is on 20 pop or 19 villagers. At the same time as you send the villager to build the barracks, send 1 villager to long distance mine 10 gold. This will give you just enough to afford the 3rd militia. You also must make sure you have a villager building a house before the barracks completes. Click up the feudal age after loom completes. At this time, you can check your eco balance by ensuring you have 7 at your woodline and 4 at berries. You should also be queuing up your 3 militia now. On the way up, your sheep will run out, in which case put all of your shepherds on straggler trees temporarily. You'll want 2 Dark Age farms here as well, which will help to afford fletching and give a faster castle age time later on. If you know anything about builds, you might be wondering where the second lumber camp is. A second lumber camp takes too long to pay off for this, so we'll skip it for now. Once up, your rally point should be set to straggler trees, as we'll be using those villagers to build farms soon. Don't pay attention to exactly which villagers go where at this point. You'll likely be caught up in some action and will lose track of what you're doing if you think about which villager goes where. It's better to think about the order in which you spend your resources, in particular wood. On feudal age, get the men-at-arms upgrade. Once you have 175 wood, get an archery range. At the same time as placing the archery range, send 4 villagers to gold. Even if you can't afford the mining camp right away, you'll be able to place it after these villagers have collected some gold. Next, get a second lumber camp with 4 villagers. In some games, this won't be possible as you might only have one decent wood line. In those cases, you can add a couple of farms instead. Getting the blacksmith at this point depends on how badly you need fletching. If you're moving out with your archers, you should research fletching before that time. In the case that the enemy cleaned up your men-at-arms with his own archers, you can delay getting the blacksmith while adding farms for a faster castle age time. The later you get your blacksmith, the earlier you can place farms, which means more food earlier. Though your walls come up late with this strategy, you shouldn't skip them entirely. The earliest that you can start walling without it affecting your rush time is after you get the mining camp on gold. The most important macro tasks that you need to do in feudal age are build constant villagers and archers, get houses before you get housed, and add a farm every time you have 60 wood. For strategy, don't play too risky with your archers, as losing them will severely hurt your crossbowman follow-up. Be careful not to get caught in the middle of the map with small numbers of units. The opponent's starting scout can easily pick off individual archers that are walking across the map, so maybe build up at least 3 archers before sending them forward. If the opponent opens scouts, you'll probably want to send reinforcements with a spearman to escort them. If the opponent has militia, don't fight them before your own militia are upgraded. If he goes to your base, ignore them and continue with your plan of sending your units forward. You can wall out the militia until you have an archer. You must continue with your plan to be the aggressor, as this is not a defensive strategy. If the opponent has skirmishers with armor, you should fall back until you reach castle age. You can also match his skirmishers with your own in some cases, but this will heavily delay your castle age time. Once skirmishers have armor, your archers only do 1 damage to them, so you really can't fight them at this point. If you see 2 archery ranges from the opponent, you can either switch to constant skirmisher production from your 1 range, or add a second range yourself to match his archer production. One final tip that's worth mentioning is, before you take a fight, spend all of your wood. Just as you think you want to fight, take a quick look at your wood count. If it's over 200, you should really fall back for 5 seconds and place 3 farms before going in. This applies to basically any stage in the game other than post-imp. Before you micro your units, spend your wood down to as close to 0 as possible. Okay, back to the gameplay. The goal time to click up to castle age is on 35 villagers with wheelbarrow researched. This is achieved with near perfect macro in a single player setting, so in an actual game, shooting for 37 plus wheel is still decent. You should go up to 15 farms in feudal age. This will give you just enough food on castle age to afford bodkin arrow, crossbowman upgrade, bow saw, and constant villager production. After you reach 15 farms, you can get a second range if you don't have one already. At this point, you should have 8 to 10 villagers on gold to maintain archer production and to float 175 gold for upgrades on castle age. Once clicking castle age, get gold mining upgrade. You should also consider where you want to place 2 new town centers. Upon reaching castle age, get crossbowman and bodkin arrow instantly. Even if one of your ranges has an archer at 50% complete, cancel it and get crossbowman. Both upgrades take 35 seconds to complete, so you can hit an extremely strong timing attack if you start them both at the same time. After archer upgrades, you can either add 2 TCs or get ballistics. This is situation dependent, but if you can hit gold or wood villagers, early ballistics can be a good call. It's also useful for picking off enemy crossbowmen in the middle of the map. As long as you reserve 300 wood and 175 gold for when your university completes, you can add your TCs as soon as possible. Some games you can even afford heavy plow here, but it's not worth idling your town centers for. When you have 3 TCs and 16 farms, the strategy I'm presenting here is complete. From there, you're on your own to decide whether to add siege or monks, or get a castle, or go to imp. The game can go in many different directions, and sometimes you have to lose to certain things to come up with ways to beat it. Anyways, that's all for this one. Remember to keep your TCs running, spend all your wood, and I'll see you on the ladder.